Welcome to the Wedding Wisdom Series. This series is for couples planning their wedding. There are tips that are going to be for planning your wedding. There are going to be tips for things that you should avoid. This is going to be a series that we're going to do on a regular basis, and each week will be a little bit different and have a different aspect of the planning for you. I hope this helps as you make your decisions. By the way, I'm Sandra Schuff, the owner of Lavender Manor Weddings and Events. I'm a wedding planner and a wedding venue owner both. Been doing weddings most of my life. We'll see you in the next video. Well, welcome to this week's version of Wedding Wisdom. And I really hope that this is going to be something that's going to really connect with you, because this is a newer trend that's been going on for the last few years, and it's one that has really changed the wedding industry a lot. And this all started in around 2020, 2021. So it's becoming one of the biggest trends right now. Smaller weddings, but with a higher end experience. And brides are really loving it. Couples started asking themselves, do we want the biggest wedding possible, or do we want the best experience possible? These are two very different things. For years, weddings often were about inviting everyone you've ever known, everybody your parents have ever known, all of your family, even the ones you haven't seen since you were, 5 years old. You also were always trying to make every single person happy. Well, when this all started changing, honestly, that shift, when it changed the wedding industry, was a good thing. And now many Gen Z and millennial couples are prioritizing some other things. Things like experience and atmosphere, the aesthetics, intentional moments, guest comfort, which is why we're doing a guest portal now on our website, emotional connection, and also authenticity. Those things are really different approach than what it was in the past. Instead of asking how many people can we invite, couples are now asking how amazing can we make this feel? And that shift is creating some of the most beautiful weddings we've ever seen. Because here's the reality, when you reduce your guest count, that allows all of your budget to stretch, and it can go a lot further. The experience, it can become a lot more elevated, and the wedding feels more intimate and memorable for that matter. So instead of paying for 250 dinners, couples are investing in incredible food or luxury floral design, candlelit receptions, upgraded rentals, custom cocktails, maybe just certain guest experiences that they create, or live musicians. That's another one that's really nice. Premium photography, beautiful ambiance as well. The overall wedding simply feels more intentional. One of the biggest things couples say after large weddings is, we barely got to talk to anyone. But with smaller weddings, couples actually get to enjoy the experience, and they get to visit with everyone, and sometimes that's really a nice thing to do. They also have time to sit down for dinner, meaningful conversations. They enjoy their cocktail hour if they have one. They get to spend time with family, and they actually get to be present on the wedding day. So the atmosphere tends to feel a lot calmer, warmer, and more emotional. Our market is actually a very incredible value compared to places like Seattle, Napa, Southern California. Couples can create weddings here that feel like elegant and upscale and luxurious and very highly curated, without seeing a six-figure budget like those other communities. That's one of the reasons that the trend is growing so quickly here. The luxury today does not necessarily mean huge. Luxury today usually means thoughtful design, elevated atmosphere, intentional details, comfort, personalization, and unforgettable guest experiences. So it's no longer about trying to impress everyone. It's about creating a wedding that feels authentic and meaningful. And social media has definitely influenced these trends. I will say that for sure. Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, these things have been influencing couples, and they're constantly seeing these beautiful, intimate weddings. And honestly, smaller weddings often photograph incredibly well. The thing you want to be careful about is when you see all those Pinterest photos and all these wedding photos, you have to understand that most of those are six-figure weddings. And that's probably not what you're going to be able to afford. So keep your expectations in the realm of, here's the general look that I like, but let's make it something I can afford that looks similar. So that's another problem with that, but it also has a blessing because it's all helped people to see that you can do a beautiful wedding, and by making it smaller, you can afford it. So the details stand out more in these smaller weddings too sometimes, and the emotional it feels stronger sometimes because it is more intimate and the atmosphere feels more like immersive. And couples are realizing that a 50-person wedding is a pretty incredible experience, and it feels more luxurious than a 300-person wedding where you're having to stretch your resources. So the mindset is completely reshaping weddings right now. Couples today care deeply about aesthetics, authenticity, as we said, emotional connection, guest comfort, personalization, creating memories that actually feel personal, not just big. And honestly, that's why this trend is continuing to grow, and it's growing very quickly. At the end of the day, the weddings people remember the most are not the biggest weddings, although they might. They're the weddings that feel intentional, beautiful, emotional, welcoming, connected, and unforgettable. So for many modern couples, that's becoming the definition of luxury. And so what does that actually look like financially now in the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene area? In our marketplace right now, what does that look like? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into in part 2. So stay tuned for part 2.